Did you see that post?
People are talking.
Here's what's trending on the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
All right, y'all, we got a good subject this morning. Researchers say that churches are closing at rapid numbers in the United States, Gary, as congregations dwindle across the country and younger generation of Americans abandon Christianity altogether, even as faith continues to dominate American politics. More and more churches are closing.
Now, according to Lifeway research, about 4,500 Protestant churches alone closed in 2019. About 3,000 new churches opening, according to research. It was the first time the number of churches in the U.S. hadn't grown since the evangelical firm started studying the topic.
Wow. And the report also stated that there were over 1.5 million people in the Baptist churches in the South who stopped attending services as well. Now, with the pandemic speeding up a broader trend of Americans turning away from religion, researchers say the closures only accelerated and more people are turning to taking a day home versus in-person praise.
Wow. So in your opinion, is the younger generation losing their faith in religion? Right. That's one question. And have you changed your church routine since the pandemic? That's the second question. That's a real good conversation. Gary, what are your thoughts? Because you go to church every Sunday.
Yes. And you know what, Rick, it bothers me. First of all, the one about the younger people that's changing their religion or whatever, younger people wouldn't go to church that much anyway. So we don't even need to put that up in there. Now, the older people, honey, are not coming to church anymore because of the pandemic. And I really hate that. I love going to church. And I was just thinking about the time when I was going to church in Dallas, how me and my friend Sherelle and Cherish, her daughter, we would just wait to get out of church and we would just congregate on the stairs outside of the church and we would just talk. You know, we would fellowship or whatever after church before we would go out to eat. Now, like here, where I go to church here in Atlanta, the older ladies that I sit with in the back of church, they don't come to church anymore because of the pandemic. Yeah. So I just go to church and leave. You know, and I hate that.
I think that I've seen a lot of young people start going to church.
Oh, really?
At Dream Center ATL, Bishop William Murphy's church. Mm-hmm. They start with the youth pastors and the youth choir singing and stuff, and it be loaded. And every time they call for new members at the end, they just come. To me, younger people are starting to go more. I think the older people is like who stay at home now.
But the younger people, I got to do so much to get them. I mean, that's too much for me.
What you mean?
Yeah, I got a good point on that. Maria, what is your thought? What are your thoughts?
I think that times have just changed, and I think there are a lot of churches that are coming out now that are aiming to be more inclusive. You know, right. Preaching that all people are accepted, and I think that we didn't have that coming up. I know when I was little, it just wasn't the same. So I don't know if it's a drop in churches, but it's just a change in religion in general and people's spiritual beliefs.
Now, Kay, y'all go to church every Sunday?
My wife is trying to institute a policy where we go at least 2 Sundays out of the month as a family. I think what personally turned in my opinion, what turned a lot of people off of church is the growth of the prosperity gospels, where the pastors in the churches are always just talking about wealth and money and all. I think that kind of turned a lot of people off.
Yeah,
and that turned me over the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's almost like everywhere you go, you kind of hear that. That's part of like the sermon. It inspires people.
Yeah,
it inspires some people, but for some people, it feel like, okay, this whole thing it feel like with the rich preachers and all that, and they flaunting all their wealth. It just feels like the focus is wrong.
Now, let me add that I think that well, first of all, I'll say what's helping churches is shorter services. My church, Faith Walkers, in Birmingham, Pastor Kevin Bryan, shout out to him. We are under full gospel covering, and we go to church at 9:00, and we out of there by 10:15. You know, the older churches, and what I have seen is they stay in church all day. Number one, you're doing 2 hours, 15 minutes. I was having a conversation with my frat brother, and I was giving him some critique. I said, hey, bro, if you get that sermon down to less than 15 minutes, you will win, because less is more. The other thing is you have to do marketing. A lot of people are still functioning out of the 70s and the 80s, and you got another generation or whatever, and and younger kids, you just have to minister to them in a different way. The gospel is the gospel. You keep the word the same. You just do it in a different way. It don't take 2 hours, and like what Maria was saying, more inclusive preaching. And a lot of churches, older churches, are not doing any type of marketing, any type of advertising. Men's Day program, Women's Day program, homecoming, pastor's anniversary, musician's anniversary, all of these traditional celebrations or whatever, and it's just dwindling down. You can just look at the numbers. I've seen, hell, back in the day, if you didn't go to Sunday school, you couldn't get a seat for 11 o'clock service. And now, people are just not coming to church. And then the pandemic didn't help. But you have to advertise. McDonald's been open since we were kids, since before we were born. But they still advertise. You still see that juicy quarter pounder with cheese and that high C orange with the ketchup and mustard and pickles and onions. Well, I got to go to McDonald's. Nobody's advertising. Nobody's doing, a lot of churches are not doing a lot of good marketing and making good videos. Look at Pastor Keon. You see him and Shani getting out of First Lady, Shani getting out of the car, coming in. They showing a real good clip of him giving a good quick word. You be like, damn. Not damn. Well, that's the purpose of going, because you keep saying damn. Go to church to keep from saying damn. But you be like, man, if I go to Houston, I got to go to Pastor Keon Church, because his ministry be on fire, or Bishop Walker. And these are bigger churches, but there are some smaller churches that be getting down too. You got a lot of smaller ministries, man. Pastor Mike, and that's a big ministry, but a lot of smaller churches, man, that have really good marketing. Pastor Doug Taylor, Pastor Kevin Bryant, different ones all over the country. Pastor Marcus Davidson, that have really good marketing and make people want to come. And then, is your church set up for the next generation if the pastor died? If the older pastor died, has been there since the 70s and 80s, if he died, who's going to carry the ministry forward? And that's another reason why a lot of the doors closing, because some of it is the same old stuff and you're not targeting. I'll give you another example. The radio stations. We ain't playing the OJs. The OJs is great. The OJs, Billy Ocean, Frankie Beverly and Mays. But you listen to a lot of the station used to be on Maria Magic or whatever. They're skewing younger, because the older people are dying out and the younger audience is growing up, and you got to target the younger audience to keep your church full. It's a business.
Yeah, it's called growing into the demo.
Growing into, and that's what they're not doing, Maria. A lot of churches are not growing into the demo. And then, you're a young pastor come in there, you want to run them off because they want to take the chairs off the pulpit and take the podium down. Jesus didn't have no pulpit. And then if the younger pastor come in with some new ideas, you want to run them off because you set in your ways. Now, pastors sit on the front row now. Y'all notice that? Pastors sit on the front row. They walk up there with a microphone and a small podium that roll out and do their word, praise singers. You just got to develop with the time, and you mix a little bit of old school. What a friend we have in Jesus in there in the middle of some of those songs every now and then, just for people like me that just need to hear, Gary, that blood, that one tear me up. Yeah. I start crying when I hear. Which one is it? The
blood of Jesus, it never loses power.
Oh yeah, that one right there bring tears to my eyes. I just need to hear that. If I can get somebody to sing the blood, I don't care about the new stuff. I like the new stuff, but I just need to hear what a friend we have in Jesus and in the blood, and you brought me from a mighty long ways. I just need just give me just a little bit of it, and I'll be fine. But that's a good point. If y'all couldn't get through on the phone lines, the phone lines are tied up this morning. You can hit us up on Rickey Smiley Official. What are your thoughts? In your opinion, is the younger generation losing their faith in religion? And have you changed your church routine since the pandemic? Whatever. And a lot of people are losing faith, and that's a whole nother subject I don't want to go into. And I can tell you why, because it's been some questions that kind of popped in my mind, and I can see why some of them feel the way that they feel, and that's a whole nother topic we're going to talk about one day. Just get that conversation, but we got to make sure the phone lines are fixed. More Rickey Smiley Morning Show coming up.